Welcome to my newest project. I'm going to call this one Rod. This is for a new customer of mine who's a real estate agent, and she wants it for a closing gift for her client. This is going to be a walnut cutting board, and we're going to engrave it from start to finish in one video. So if you would, stick around. I'll show you how we're going to do it when we come right back. Alright, first preparation we've got to do is we need to sand this board good and smooth. Even though we're doing it in a laser, this is still a cutting board, or a charcuterie board, however you want to pronounce them. So I want it smooth. There's a low spot right there and a few little spots right over here I want to work out. So how do I know when I've got it good and smooth? I'm going to take a pencil and I'm going to run across here. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to sand it out till that carbon is gone. Here we go. Okay. I'm not sure if you can see, but right here, I'm going to zoom in a little bit, but right there is a bad spot on that board. So let me zoom in on it. I think you can see the grain. I'm sorry for jumping it around, but I think you can see this grain structure right in here where it's kind of a little lighter colored. You can feel it rubbing right there, the different sound. I don't know if you can hear that or not, but that's a low spot I still want to get out. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to an even coarser grit. I've got a 120 on there. I think I'm going to put me an 80 grit and work my way back up because I need to get that out of there. So we're just going to change out to sanding discs. I'll put an 80 grit on there. It says it's 80, but it's been used a while, so it's fairly coarse, or not as coarse, been used. But we'll put some more pencil on there. Here we go. Okay, that 80 grit made a lot of difference. We've still got a little bit right here that I want to take out, so we're going to go ahead and do it one more time. Here we go. All right, that did the trick. We've got a good smooth surface right there. So now we're going to start going back up from the 80 grit all the way up to the 220 grit for that board. So I'm not going to bore you with all the rest of that. When I come back, the board's going to have been sanded and ready for engraving. Hang on, I'll be right back. All right, the board's all sanded. We've got it laid out. We've got a rectangular layout line right here called a tool path. And that one is 14 inches wide by 6 5/8 tall. So that's the engravable working area on the board that I measured. And obviously we're not going to use it all up. So what I want to do is I want to kind of get all this centered out. And if I take these and just kind of group them together right here and move them out of the way, okay? And I want to put this in the center of the board. What I want to make sure that this represents, like I said, that rectangle represents the board that we're going to be working on. So I want to put that in the middle of my workstation, or my desktop here to work on. So I just click the center button and that moved it into the center. I'll do the same thing right here. And that's got all the items on my board, the toolpath and the wording. Established 2023. Everything is centered in the center of the board. That makes my layout a whole lot quicker and easier. So now what I'm going to do when I come back is I'll have the board inside the laser, and I'll show you how we're going to do a practice layout and see where it all lays. So we'll be right back. Okay, we've got the board in the laser. I've already laid it all out. You can see the X in the center. Red dot diode is pointing towards it in the center. And I'm going to hit the frame button and we're going to watch it run. We're staying on the blue. There's not a whole lot of area that we're taking up in there. But how did I get this lined up, you say? Well, I've got the X to mark the center right there, to mark the center of the board. But if you look right in through here, I have a line all the way across here, and I have one up in the top that you can't see right now. But those are the engraving areas that I want to work from end of the board to end of the board. And that allowed me to find the center of my engraving area. And also I put an X on the blue tape, so I know where it's going to do. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to put a, because we're not engraving with a lot of power, I'm going to pull my lid into thinking that it is closed. And I'm just going to go ahead and let this thing run. Now what I'm running this at is just a 12% power. I'm running it at 10 inches per second with 150 lines per inch. These are not my finished parameters to work with. This is for test purposes only. So here we go. Okay, we're real close to being finished. So as you can see exactly what the engraving looks like when we're done. Anyway, this lets you see in a practice session of what it's going to look like on the board, and we're not damaging the board. If we don't like it, we can make changes and come back and try it again. So hang on, I'll be right back. All right, next we're going to go ahead and run it. So we're going to do 1, maybe 2 passes, maybe even 3 passes, depending on how I like it as we go along. But here we go. We're going to start out with a frame. Now you're not going to be able to see everything down in the bottom because this black frame is blocking it off. I'll frame it up right here, let you see it open like that. So here comes the frame, and you can see that's the area that we're going to be engraving in. So I'll turn off the diode, close the door, press the start button. Here we go. For those of y'all who are inquiring, I have a 30-watt CO2 laser. I'm running this at 10 inches per second speed, 95% power, and 150 lines per inch. So for those of y'all who don't understand that, the speed it's marking 10 inches in a second, so it's going fairly quick. And almost full power, so we're running almost 30 watts full power to do the engraving. And then the lines per inch, that's like I said, 150, and that means that for 1 inch of travel up from the bottom up, there's 150 lines there. So let's open it up. We'll take a look at it. Get this back out of the way. Okay. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and run it another time. Like I said, maybe 2 more times, we'll see. But it's looking pretty good. So when I come back, I'll be showing you the finished project. Well, alright, we have ran it through the laser twice. We sanded it. Let's blow it off and let's see what we've got. Oh, I'm happy with that. I think that's going to look pretty good. So stick around. When we come back, we're going to be putting the cutting board conditioner on it. Be right back. All right, the next step of the process is to put the cutting board conditioner. This is a combination of vitamin E, beeswax, and carnauba oil. And it's just a paste, and we just rub it in. And you can use any brand of butcher block conditioner on these boards, and as long as you keep them oiled, they'll be okay. And you don't have to use any particular grade. You just want to make sure it does contain vitamin E, beeswax, and carnauba wax. If you get those three combinations in there, you're going to have a really good conditioned board. And here's a little known fact: you can't put too much oil on them. It will let you know when it's too full. You won't accept any more into it. At that point in time, the board is saturated, it's done good. But you're not going to hurt it by applying more as time goes on. You know, it's just the board, when it's full, it's not going to take it in. And when you see it's not taking in the oil, then you can stop. It's in good shape. So I used to use actually a food grade mineral oil, and I would dunk my boards in the mineral oil to let them soak. And that was okay. It was conditioned good, and they were full of the oil, but I didn't have the vitamin E, and I didn't have the carnauba wax or the beeswax. I just had a food grade mineral oil, and I just decided that I wanted to see more protection, so that's the reason I switched to this paste towel with all the items that I want to see in there. And that's just my research and what I've seen some of the other people who are really big into cutting boards and stuff. That's their conjecture of what needs to be done. So for about the last 6-7 years, this is what I've been doing on mine, and I don't have any complaints. It's all working out fine. So, all right. I just love the way it just makes everything pop out in the grain wise. Okay. All right, so let's get it here on the ends. Get the whole thing. Now the ends, wood is kind of like a straw. Just groups of straws in your hand. And like the straws run this way, and it just, these are like the open ends of the straw, so they just suck everything up in there. So these ends will be the first pieces to actually go dry. And we'll come back and pay attention to those here. We'll only put maybe 1 or 2 more coats on here, and then it'll be just about as full as best it can be. You know, but all in all, I'm really pleased with the way this one has turned out. And it should stand out real well. I love the live edge up on the top and the way that it worked out. See how the back is already pretty much soaked in, so it's looking good. We're going to give that a few more minutes to absorb, and then we'll come back and we'll buff it some more. So I'll be right back. Well, there is the finished project. I am really pleased with the way this turned out. Like I said, periodically with any cutting board or charcuterie board or whatever, you want to, when they start feeling dry or looking dry, you want to go ahead and get some sort of butcher block conditioner and just wipe it back down until it's done. You never ever want to run these through a dishwasher, because they're not going to work. They just don't do it. Hand wash them, towel dry them when you're through, and then put them back out for display again. That's all you need to do to condition them. And you maybe wash these things 4, 5, 6 times before it's going to start needing any more oil. You know, maybe the first 2 or 3 times until you start getting it really conditioned and absorbed into the wood. But after a while, you'll maybe get 4, 5, 6 washings before you'll need to oil it up again or condition it again. So anyway, hey, this is a wrap up for Rod. I appreciate you following me along, and I want to thank my customer for reaching out to me and asking me to do this, and I hope that this leads to many more projects that we can work on together. I've enjoyed it, and so what I would like to ask of you until my next project comes along, if you would, please hug all your family and friends, let them know you love them, and God bless.